Hey guys, this is Luke from Cahoot.
Hi, Luke.
I host the webinars from our official Cahoot account. Manish and Aldi should be joining in a second here. I was just chatting with them.
Cool.
And as a reminder, Manish will be presenting. And so Dilip, as you're talking, generally speaking, we've never had a problem. Just, you pause at the end of slides and he clicks forward. But if he's not moving for any reason, just say, hey, next slide, please. And he'll move it right along.
Okay, I think I'm not able to add the video. Can you enable the video?
Sure. We actually normally don't do video on these.
Okay.
We found it's better for the recording after to not have video. It kind of keeps people's focus on the slides. If we do future one, we'll be happy to change that up in the future. But for this one, I'm going to stick to.
Okay. So this is just going to be audio, that is.
Yeah. I see we do have a handful of attendees joining already. So welcome, folks. I know you probably can't see any slides yet. We'll be pulling that up in just a second and sit tight for other folks to join.
Hey, hi, Renal.
Hey, welcome, Aldi. And I see Manish is connecting as well. So we've got the full suite of panelists coming online. And we have a few attendees joining. So thank you guys for joining. And we'll be starting in just a few minutes. Hey, welcome to those joining. We are going to give people a few more minutes to join up because I'm seeing a steady flow of participants, not participants, attendees signing up. And so we'll get going in just a few minutes. All right, we've got a packed schedule here today for our webinar, and so we're going to go ahead and get started right on time. I see people are still joining in pretty quickly, but I'm sure the folks will be able to catch up if they join a couple minutes late. So welcome to Cahoot and SellerApp's webinar, Last Minute PPC Conversion Tips, Strategies from Advertising to Fulfillment. We know that Q4 is in full swing here already, but there's still time to learn, to get some little pieces of actionable advice here and there to make sure this Q4 is your best ever. And so we at Cahoot are really excited to welcome SellerApp to this webinar to provide the advertising side of things for Amazon sellers, while we, of course, handle fulfillment ourselves. So together, we think we've got a 360 view here on what sellers can do to make the absolute most of conversion this holiday season. Just a few tips. We are currently recording this webinar and we'll send a recording after. So we don't need camera or mics or from you guys. We don't need you to take copious notes. We've got all that handled ourselves. What we would like you to do is post your questions anytime during the presentation. You'll see you have a Q&A button in your screen, and please keep the questions coming. We've got a lot of material to get through today. We'll move through it at a pretty steady clip, but please post your questions. We're going to leave plenty of time at the end to answer. And one other piece of advice is we actually have two polls here today, kind of one towards the beginning and one towards the end that Manish will be launching. He's driving today. And so please do participate in the polls as well. We'd love to get your perspectives. Hosting today are Manish Chowdhary and Dilip Vamanan. They are both founders, Manish of Cahoot and Dilip of SellerApp. And so these are the men with the plan, with the brains behind the operation here to give you the advice you need. Manish has 20 plus years of experience in the e-commerce world. Before founding Cahoot, he actually founded the award-winning and still operating today order management system, Pulse Commerce. His advice and thought leadership has been featured in the New York Times, Entrepreneur Magazine, Digital Commerce 360, and more. And he founded Cahoot to unlock the latent fulfillment capacity kind of around the United States of that merchants already had to powerful, affordable 1- and 2-day shipping for other merchants. Like Manish, Dilip brings decades of e-commerce experience to the webinar today to share with you. He co-founded SellerApp 5 years ago to put the power of big data to work for sellers. There's, a fire hose of information online. We know there's Amazon is constantly creating data point after data point that you can use, and it can just be too much. So SellerApp breaks down that information into meaningful, actionable insights that you can use to drive growth. I am Luke from Cahoot, just monitoring the Q&A session and emceeing here a bit. And I'm joined by my colleague Aldi and by Sagarika from SellerApp. We're all monitoring that Q&A, and so please do shoot your questions in so we can have some great back and forth with the founders at the end. And so as I mentioned, we do have a packed agenda today. We'll be starting out by talking a bit about this crazy trend of how early holiday shopping started, how our early holiday shopping is starting. We'll then pass it over to Dilip to go over the basics of PPC, the importance of advertising automation and what it can do for you, and then some great last minute tips for how you can improve your advertising this Q4. Then Manish will round things off by talking about how early selling and the capacity crunch is impacting fulfillment right now and how you can adapt to it, and then how you can de-risk Amazon FBA. Because of course, with inventory limits, it's no sure thing that you'll be able to get everything you need into FBA so you can have a great holiday season. So to start, I'm going to go quickly into holiday shopping, and now it's in October, which is insane. I'm not sure if you guys saw this, but the October 4th, first Monday in October, Amazon launched their Black Friday worthy deals. It's 2 months before Black Friday, and they already launched it, which it feels crazy, but it's the way the world's been going. Last year we saw way more shopping in November than ever before. In fact, 25% of holiday shopping was done before Black Friday last year. And as you can see, this trend is only intensifying. And actually, and on the next slide, Amazon didn't stop there. The same day, they rolled out a new way to send gifts that actually only requires someone's email. And so it's no accident that they launched this the same day as they launched their Black Friday deals. Hint, hint, start your gift shopping early. All you need is someone's email. You don't even need their address, and you can send them that gift. They're trying to get out ahead of things. It comes with so many benefits. As a seller, the benefits to Amazon are essentially the same as the benefits to you as a seller. And of course, this webinar is going to be all about that. And so what we're saying, what the advice we're giving on the next slide is, hey, get started earlier than you think. It's already mid-October. We think you should be ready. We think you should know. We know you should be doing your holiday selling already. That's where people are. People are already doing their holiday shopping. So why aren't you taking advantage of it if you're not already? Of course, product sourcing needs to happen way before. Fulfillment options, there is still time to fix up your fulfillment for the real rush. And of course, you can still make those last minute tweaks to your listings and your advertising campaigns to make the most of this trend. And that's the advice we're here to give you. And so if you pop to the next slide, Manish, while I'm speaking to this one, could you please launch the first poll about, we'd like to hear from you guys as to when are you currently planning to start your selling, or have you started it already? And so while you're looking at it, of course, we want to know, have you already started? Are you starting in November? Are you waiting all the way to December? I'm interested to know, just because this is so new. But what we're going to stress to you today is both the tips on how you can make the most of this, but also there's another reason why you should be doing this. It's not just revenue, it's also profit. From a fulfillment perspective, your products are going to get there faster. It's going to be less expensive for you to fulfill, and it's less risky for you to fulfill right now than it is after Black Friday, when everyone's even more crunched. And so that means more profit in your pocket. Moreover, on the advertising side, what Dilip will get into is, hey, there are less people doing this. Not all of your competitors are on top of things as you are. The earlier you start, the more growth you have to grab, and that growth is going to come more efficiently as well because you're competing with fewer advertising dollars. And Manish, could you give a little overview? What are we seeing? What are we seeing from our audience? When are people starting their holiday shopping?
Yes,
Or selling?
I'm going to go end the poll now. So in 3, 2, 1. And what we see is nearly 2/3 of the folks have already started their holiday advertising, and the remaining will begin early November. So it looks like most of the folks have already got the message with respect to early holiday season.
Oh, that's great. We don't have to belabor this point anymore. We'll get straight into giving you the advice for how you can make it the best possible. So Dilip, please take it away.
Hey, thanks, Luke, for the great introduction. And I'm very excited to be part of this webinar. I'm seeing a lot of serious sellers out there who is looking forward to make the best out of this Q4. So let's get started. So here I have kind of segregated the whole presentation into 3 parts. The first part, I am making a fair assumption that for some of you, this might be the first real Q4, and for you, I wanted to cover some basics. And for all of you who are already experienced and might be looking at really accelerated sales, I will cover some advanced topics like, for example, how do you set up the automation, and also the last minute tips you should be doing, right? And yeah, it's technically already Q4. You know, it's already started in the first week of October, but again, we do see already a growth in terms of sales already for most of the sellers whom we are working for. But again, the real sales like Black Friday and Cyber Monday, all those sales are yet to come, right? So the best is yet to come for most of you, right? So let me cover a very absolute basics here, which is about how do you calculate the basic margin once you run an Amazon advertising, right? And also, this is also very important for all of you who just launched the product and looking for the magic sales to happen in this Q4. So let me put very simple numbers out here. Let's assume that your landed cost, that means you are getting the product manufactured and shipped to an Amazon FBA warehouse or even a third-party warehouse, which is called the landed cost, right? The second one is you will have essentially 2 kinds of fees. One, if you're an FBA seller, it's different. And if you're an SFP seller, if you're using a software like Cahoot and taking a 3PL or an SFP, then the fees will be different. But for this purpose, let me just go through the Amazon fees, right? So the landed cost, the next part is the Amazon fees. And the third one is obviously the margins which you would like to get from the product, right? So here for the calculation, I'm assuming that you are getting a product manufactured for $5 and your shipping cost is $1. So which means your landed cost is $6. And you have decided to sell this product for $20, right? And again, Amazon selling fee differs based on the category. It changes all the way from 6% to 45%. But on an average, it's around 15%. So in this case, 15% of your selling price, which is $3, is going to be your Amazon selling fee. And on the top of it, there will be FBA fees, which is another $3. So the Amazon fees, let's assume it's around $6, right? Again, this is for calculation purpose because I understand there are additional fees, storage, long-term fees, and reconciliation, other things comes into picture. But in this case, you can understand your gross profit for your product is $20, which is your product price, minus $6 plus $6, which is the various Amazon fees. So $8 is the cash in hand for you, right? So if you look at the profit before the Amazon PPC, it's around $8 divided by $20 into 100, which is 40%, which means for your product, the break-even ACoS, advertising cost of sale, is around 40%, right? So if you are able to acquire customers, let's say anything less than 40%, you're always at the profit, right? Let's say you can get the users for $30, 30%, or let's say 20%, obviously your profit margin keeps increasing, right? So this is a very absolute beginner basics. I'm sure that all of you who are experienced out there will be knowing it. So let's move to the next slide. I will put another basic, very basic calculation, which is all about how do you calculate the bid, right? Again, for you absolute beginners out there, I've seen during the poll as well, some of you maybe just started advertising on Amazon, and you will be wondering, should I bid $1? Should I put $0.5 or like whatever the number, right? So let me again give you the basics here. Okay, you started selling the same product of $20, right? And in the initial days, you are seeing a conversion rate of 10%, right? Which means that 100 people landed on your page through advertising, and 10 of them are actually buying the product, right? So which means your conversion rate is 10%. And in the previous slide, you would have seen that your break-even ACOS is 40%. And here you are looking at a very small profit margin because you are just launching the product. So let's assume that you decided to sell the product for 30% ACOS, that means 10% margin. So here again, so every click, so average revenue per click, right? So you got clicks and you got conversion. That 10% is your conversion. For 10% conversion, for every average revenue per click, it's actually 20 divided by 10. That's $2 is your average revenue per click, right? Now, if it is $2, your target CPC or the bid which you should put is essentially $2 into 30%, which is actually going to be $0.6, right? So if you are bidding up to $0.6, you are ensured that your target ACOS is met. That means you are still within the profit margin of 10%, right? But let's assume that you are going aggressive and you're looking to generate, you're not looking at profit, you just want to break even. At that point, your CPC can actually go up to $0.8, right? Again, I know most of you guys who are already selling and already generating good amount of money over the months, your ACOS, your target ACOS may be 10%, 15%. You can use the same calculation to do the calculation and understand the CPC for this, right? So towards the end of the session, I also want to cover the difference in terms of the CPC we have seen across the categories, right? I think Amazon is a game where you can see that the cost per click has been increasing over the period of time. The golden era of having like 0.2, 20 cents or 30 cents of CPC is gone right now. The CPC is steadily increasing, but again, there are still ways for you to still make sure that you are meeting the target ACOS, right? So let's move forward. Let's take 3 scenarios here, right? You have a product which is just in the launch stage, right? I mean, you just launched just before Q4 or during Q4. At that, what will be your intention at this point of time, right? Your goal is to make sure that you are generating the initial sales for your product, right? So in this case, as we calculated in the previous slide, you are looking at 40% ACOS, right? You are not looking at profit. You are just make sure that you want to have the profit margin, right? You want to have the break even. You don't want to drain any money by selling the product, right? So all you care about is to make sure that you want to get maximum impressions for your product, which means visibility for your product, maximum users landing on your product, which will obviously result in more clicks and finally more conversions, right? Okay, again, all this depends on your the desirability aspects as well as the discoverability aspects of your product. But imagine you have a good listing, great listing, which tells the story of the product, why your product is unique. You have A+ content, you have EPC, you have great images. In that case, obviously the conversion will happen. So you drove the impressions, which resulted in clicks, and finally you get a lot of conversions, right? So at that point, this is what you are looking for, right? So based on your target ACOS, you can look at the numbers and you can set the CPC based on this, right? In case you are a seller who has a restricted budget, right? And you don't have an unlimited budget, you have a very restricted budget. I think the best suggestion at this point of time is don't look for a high profit margin in this scenario. Make sure that you are keeping your profits the margins very low in the initial stage, because what you're looking at is to generate that initial set of sales, initial sales velocity, so that you start generate revenue from your organic sales as well, right? So advertising sale is a great way to generate the initial sales, but long term you are looking at generating revenue both from advertising as well as from organic sales, right? And on the contrary, in case in the initial product launch itself, you try to reduce the ACoS, you're looking for high profit margins. What will happen is you will have lesser impressions, which will lead to lesser clicks and finally low conversions, right? And many times we have seen products failing due to this, right? Amazon is a place where you need to generate that initial sales velocity for the Amazon algorithms itself to like and love the products, right? So my advice here is to make sure that even if your budgets are low, make sure that you are not looking for a heavy profit margin and you are following all the basics, right? So let's look at the scenario number 2. In this case, you are an established seller and your products are already doing well on Amazon. And at this point of time, what you're looking for is you want to generate more brand affinity towards you, right? You don't want your products to be known as a product, but you want the brand value to be associated with your product, right? So the best way to run at this kind of scenario is to make sure that you are creating 2 kinds of campaigns. The first one is a brand campaign, sponsored brand campaign, where you are actually merging or you're collating at least 2 or 3 of your best-selling products and targeting with broad campaigns, which will bring in a lot of brand visibility for you, right? People will start associating your brand. They start recognizing your brand logos, brand colors, all those stuff. And you can, in addition to this, you can obviously run the product campaigns, which are targeting the exact keywords, right? So depending on the decision point the user is in, both these campaigns, the brand sponsored brand campaign as well as the sponsored product campaign, will help to make the conversions for you, right? So this is a great way where you are actually using 2 different kind of campaigns to your advantage, right? Now let's look at the scenario number 3, where you are looking at generating the maximum sales from your niche, right? So before doing this, I think the first thing I will try to do is I will try to first understand the organic search visibility of your product to ensure that your products are well within the first 3 results of most of your highly targeted keywords, most of your relevant keywords, right? Once your product is in that shape, the first thing I will again try to analyze is, what is the general decision time frame for your product, right? Is it a product where the user will just search, click, and then click buy, and then go to buy, right? But this is a scenario, the remarketing is a scenario which we have seen really working for products where the time frame for the decision is much larger, right? People will look at they will gaze through your product pages, they look at your images, they'll go through the reviews, they may decide to add the product in the or to the cart, or they may not, but again they may come back after a week and then take the decision, right? And this is also a great example. I think we have also recently seen this with categories like toys. Q4 is a quarter where toys is one of the highest selling products are from the toys category. In this scenario, the best for you to do is look at, essentially create 2 different kinds of campaigns itself. One is a high ACoS campaign, which can drive a lot of impressions for your product, right? This may not give you a lot of conversion, but you are getting a lot of impressions. Your brand is getting noticed. Your product is getting noticed. People keep seeing again and again, and you are constantly in the eye of the customer, right? And the second campaign, which has a low ACoS, it will help you to do the conversion, right? So and the last strategy which you can always do is, I think many of you might have been already doing, is the DSP campaigns, right? So DSP is a way in which you can target the same user in third-party websites. It can be the Amazon properties or third-party websites. You can retarget the same user, right? So this is also an advanced thing which most of our brand sellers are actually using. So as I told you, depending on your product journey, whether the product is in the growth or whether it is essentially in the launch or whether it is in the profit or the mature phase, you really need to make a combination of these different kinds of campaigns to get the best out of Amazon advertising, right? Okay, let's move forward. Yes. So before going into automation, let me ask you a very simple mathematical problem, and we can go forward. Yeah. So when I have seen many of the sellers creating the first campaign, I have seen that they may have just one campaign with one ad group, let's say 50 keywords or 30 keywords, and each week if they really need to optimize a campaign, it may take, let's say, 30 minutes or 40 minutes of their time. And yeah, Manish, I think we can move forward. Yeah. Next. Yeah. So here in this example, there is one campaign with one ad group and around 50 keywords. And per week, it approximately takes around 20 minutes for you to optimize a campaign, right? To go through all the data, to understand what's working, what's not working, increase the budget, decrease the budget, change the bids, all those stuff, right? So let's assume that it takes 20 minutes for you, right? And you have grown your product. You're having more products, you have more campaigns. Let's assume that you have 10 campaigns running at this point of time, right? In this case, it's actually going to take around 200 minutes per week, which is around 3 hours per week, right? And let's see the next scenario where you have, let's say, 50 campaigns running, multiple ad groups, multiple keywords. It's going to take 3 days per week, right? And so the advantage of automation is, I'm not again suggesting you need to use a platform like SellerApp. You can also try to do a lot of these things through Excel. But again, the point is the advantages of automation is you set up the automation once and it can automatically execute this for you again and again, right? And the advantage, obviously, you save a lot of time on this process. You generate tons of insights automatically by the platform. You can take decision based on the insights. And also those are many times we have seen those are very contextual in nature, right? Depending on the product, whether, again, as I told you, depending on the phase of the product, these automation benefits is different, right? You're launching the product, you are looking at essentially not really worried about ACoS. You're looking at all the initial impressions and all those clicks, right? So depending on, again, the context of the product, you can tweak your automation rules based on that. And most important thing is, I think recently we have been approached by a lot of customers asking us, hey, I really want to go back in the last year holiday season and wanted to look what keywords really work for us, right? So the attribution window or the data which you can always look back on the advertising console is only 90 days, right? So if you really want to look back last year and understand what really worked for you, it becomes very difficult on Amazon, right? And a software like SellerApp, what we do is we actually store that data for you. We call it as data warehousing. So you can always have a look back window. You can look back to last year, look at all the search terms which really work for you, which has converted, so that you can make all the decisions based on your backend search terms, your listings, everything based on this, right? So create the strategy once and make the platform work for you, right? Yeah. So now what are the things for you to understand, right? So the first one is, what are the variables for you to play with, right? Essentially the first variable is obviously the keywords. You can take decision based on keywords, ad groups, campaigns. Second one is on what condition you will create the rules, right? You can create the rules based on advertising cost of sale. You can create based on the click-through rate. You can also do it based on the revenue. Okay, I want to reach it certain revenue and then I want to campaign. So based on all these criteria, you can actually make the rules. And last and most important thing, based on all these criteria, you can also make the changes automatically to your keywords, ad groups, and campaigns, right? So you can make the changes in the budget, bids, and the campaign state. Okay, let's move forward. So based on all these three fields, as I told you, the fields which you can make changes are, let's say, orders. Okay, if certain number of orders happen, do this. Number of clicks happen, do this. If this is the ACOS, do this. Or if the impressions are more than, let's say 5,000 or 10,000, do this, right? Based on all these variables, you can create essentially 4 types of rules. The first one is to help you to save money. The second one is help you to reach a target ACOS, which we explained. Like if your profit starts with 40%, and you can set the target ACOS and the platform can automatically do for you. And the third one is based on you want to generate more visibility. How do you do that, right? So let's go into each of these rules in detail. Yeah. So first one, keyword harvester, right? So you want to generate more visibility for your product. Okay, now you are generating revenue, let's say from 1,000 keywords, you want to generate more keywords. So this is the first rule you should be setting, right? So you can say what is the impression, based on that, it can automatically do for you. First one is keyword harvester. Let's go to the next one. You are looking at a target ACOS. You have essentially, you want to make sure that all your campaigns are running at a certain ACOS. So you can specify the ACOS, and also you can also combine it with additional variables. Like in this example, you can see if the ACOS is less than 34% and the orders are greater than 5, increase a bit, all those kind of things you can do it. So automatically, again, you can set up the rule, and you can also specify the time frame to look at. Based on this, the rule will automatically start working. Yeah. And the third one is the money saver, right? And this is something which you should keep attention just before Q4, because you want to make sure that you are doubling down on those keywords which are really working for you, right? So what money saver helps you to do is you can automatically mark, or you can remove all those keywords which has been draining money for you, right? So if your ACOS, you're looking at 20%, 30%, whichever is not managing their numbers, you can obviously specify, and the money saver rule can actually work for you, right? Yes. Let's move forward. Yeah. So now, again, we recently did a survey with most of our customers, and we found that less than 62% of them has any presence outside Amazon, which means that they don't have a website, they don't have a social media presence. I mean, if I'm buying some of the products, I generally do also a search on Google or Bing or other places just to understand, learn more about the brand, and then get more details, right? So it's very, very important that you say a very consistent, cohesive story about your product, and make sure that it's already Q4. I won't make a lot of changes on the listing, because sometimes doing the listing can do good or bad. So I won't make a lot of differences, but make sure that your listing is telling a real good story about your product, right? Second thing is, again, getting into other SFP and other third-party channels might not be easier for you right now, but make sure that you are doing it at least for the next holiday season, right? Not just based on FBA, but you are also depending on other places where you are allowing it to fulfill, right? Third one is obviously auto advertising. I'll get into this slightly in detail after this. And the last and most important thing is, you don't want to have any kind of bad surprises during the holiday season. So make sure that you're monitoring your listing. You are not, buy box is intact. Your listings are not being screwed. You're not getting any last minute reviews, negative reviews from your competition. All these things ensure that you're branding your list. You are making sure that you are monitoring all your listings, all your products in the holiday season. Yeah, let's move forward. So this is what we have been suggesting to our customers. First thing is, Q4 is all about generating the revenue, right? And most of the sellers, they do make more revenue in the last Q4 alone compared to all the other quarters combined together, right? So this is a time where you really look at the returns and not at the cost. So again, loop back into the margin calculation, understand your margins. Once you calculate it, any customer you are able to onboard in a profitable way is always good for you. So focus on ROAS than ACOS. Second point, what we have suggested, so we have been tracking the increase in the keyword bids over the last 4 years right now. And we are expecting this year, this quarter at least, the bids will go up at least by 70 to 80%. And the first way for you to understand this is start looking at the impression over the last, let's say 15 days or 20 days and see whether the impressions have gone down, which means you are not bidding at the right price, right? So what I will first do is all those keywords which are less than, let's say 30% ACoS, whichever, I mean, again, 30 is a, so in this example, I'm calculating 30 is where less than 30, it's a profitable, more than 30, it's not profitable. So all your profitable keywords, increase your bids at least by 70 to 80%, right? So that it gets an impression always. You are, and the second one is for all those keywords which you're not very sure about it, you can decrease a bit at least by 30%, right? The keywords which are not converting, which are draining money for you, decrease a keyword. Last thing, don't lose any of your brand keywords, right? Many of you might make an assumption that, okay, this is my brand, I will generate sales from all my branded keywords. But most of the scenarios, this is not the truth, right? So make sure that you are also bidding high on the brand keywords, not 70 to 80%, but at least 30% increase your bids for the brand keywords. We already discussed about automation. And the last and the most important thing here is Amazon has provided the bulk upload option, which can help you to make a lot of changes at once. It saves a lot of time, and even the functionality is available on SellerApp dashboard. You can use a bulk upload to upload, make multiple changes at the same point of time. Yeah, next slide. So Luke will be sharing you a list of keywords which we have identified for all the attendees. So we had actually looked at last year data, and we tried to identify the set of keywords which really worked for our customers, which means there are a lot of keywords which are very Q4 specific, right? For example, gift for mom, gift for dad. So these are keywords, ideally you can make changes on your backend search terms, and you can increase the visibility through these keywords, right? So we are collating this information, and all you guys attendees out there, I think you will be getting the list from us, right? And I think I'm sure that the slide is slightly outdated because we are already in Q4, and it's time for you to run more manual campaigns and get the data. The keyword related information, you can still make some minor changes on your backend search terms, get those visibility. Yeah. So if you have any other doubts, any other things, please feel free to reach out to us. We are ready to help you. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Dilip. That was very insightful. And folks, just a reminder, please keep your questions coming, and we'd love to answer them. There's some great advice that Dilip has provided with respect to planning for Q4. You know, many times we don't think about creative strategies like, you know, you could be selling cookware, but, you know, that could be a great gift for mom keyword. So take advantage of those creative ways, because we all know that PPC rates are skyrocketing. You need to find clever and creative ways to reduce your advertising cost of sales and also profits. You know, I know Dilip talked a lot about increasing revenue in Q4, but if Q4 is bulk of your sales, if you don't make money in Q4, then when else, right? So it is crucial to make profitable sales, especially on channels like Amazon, because you know, the customers don't even belong to the sellers, it belongs to Amazon, and the day you stop advertising, you lose everything. So I want to focus a little bit on operations. And in fact, this is one of the first years, or I should say second year, where there has to be a very close alignment between advertising, operations, and fulfillment. I'll repeat again, advertising, operations, and fulfillment. You know, there used to be a time when advertising people will go and do their advertising, and they have, you know, they get the order, and then it was the operations problem to get the order out the door. However, you know, if you look and examine what's happening right now, they are very, very closely related. But before we go there, one, you can see from this chart that there's a huge demand for goods and services in the US right now. And this is the chart going back last, 70 years. So you can see perhaps some of it is probably due to COVID. Some of it is less people buying stuff online, or rather more people buying stuff online. Some of it could be attributed to the latent demand that has been in the system because people were under lockdown for a long time. They were curbing their spending. And in the US, some of it is also through the economic stimulus that people have been getting checks. So bottom line is there's a huge demand for your goods right now. We are already in Q4. So why not take advantage of it before the PPC rates go up even more in November and December? So don't hold back. Think of it as the peak season, and the chart here reflects that. So I said earlier, close alignment between advertising, operations, and fulfillment. Now, I would urge all the sellers to look into your operations cost and the fulfillment cost and factor that in to your advertising strategy. Let me explain what that means. If you look at this chart, all the carriers have imposed surcharges. These are holiday delivery surcharges. 150 from November 1 onwards, which is less than 3 weeks away. So you're going to actually pay for the same identical package $1.50 more to deliver. And from November 29 to December 12, $3 more. So, when you think about your profitability, if your cost goes up by $3 and you're not paying attention, and you're simply only paying attention to your advertising cost and the PPC clicks, that's not enough, because it completely ruins your profitability model. Because just to Dilip slide, and it was a great slide where he has a $1 shipping, but if that $1 is variable, suddenly $1 becomes $1.50, all your equation changes. So I would urge you to look into this. And if you're selling oversized items, or if you're selling, if you're going to experience a unusually high demand as a shipper, as a merchant, then UPS and FedEx are going to charge you even more. Yes, this is the new world we live in. If you give UPS and FedEx 150 package instead of 100 negotiated package per day, they will charge you significantly more. They're not happy to accept that because the network is choked. There is no capacity. FedEx and UPS are full to the brim, and they don't have any excess capacity to give to you. So please be mindful of that. And that problem is only going to get worse as we get into the holiday season, especially on the East Coast, where we are subject to snowstorms, bad weather. All of those can really influence the carrier capacity and the network. So be mindful of that. UPS has a very similar surcharge structure, and USPS, which used to be the one carrier that did not have these surcharges, have also imposed these surcharges over the last 2 years. So across the board, you're going to pay more. I wish the bad news stopped there, people. Unfortunately, I'm the bearer of some more not so good news, which is you will be paying more and the packages will be late. Packages will be delivered late. And I speak with conviction because we saw that last year. 1 out of 4 FedEx package, and FedEx is world-class, known for its excellence. 1 out of 4 packages were late, delivered late. And USPS, 1 out of 2. That means 50%, nearly 50% of the packages were late. So if you push your holiday campaigns further out, first, there's no guarantee that you can hand those packages to the carrier. Even if you got them to the carrier, you will be paying more in shipping charges. You pay more and the product gets delivered late. Customer is unhappy, you're unhappy, and many of those packages may be gifts. If they're not delivered on time, they will be returned. And we know how expensive returns are. So be very mindful of that, please. Well, one advantage that, or rather a strategy that we are recommending sellers is to engage in distributed fulfillment. There are several advantages of distributed fulfillment. Of course, if you're using FBA, behind the scenes, Amazon is distributing your inventory across its fulfillment centers nationwide. That's how they're able to get the products to the consumers in 1 or 2 days. However, we encourage that you should also exercise FBM option and find a network of warehouses, because it's really hard to go and engage with multiple traditional 3PLs and try to cobble that together. You need a nationwide network. And what are the advantages? Because shipping cost will be lower, because when products travel less distance, it is physics, it will cost less insurance. Second, delivery speed will be maximized. The products will get there faster. So in spite of any inclement weather, you're shielding yourself. And also, many regions within the US are especially congested. These are the highly dense areas that are slammed. Think about California, Southern California. That's where most of the containers from China and overseas come there. So those ports are very, very busy. Those FedEx hubs, UPS hubs, USPS hubs are very busy. And there's a greater chance that your package may not get picked up, or if it gets picked up, the delivery will be delayed. So if you had distributed fulfillment, you can move those orders to a less densely populated area, or rather distribution and fulfillment center, and have your packages delivered, and you're not reliant on just one center to ship all your packages. Moving on, de-risking from FBA. I know we have limited time, so I'm going to move rather quickly through this so that we have some time for Q&A. Putting all your eggs in Amazon FBA basket is not a good idea, because most sellers that I'm speaking with are experiencing restock limits, meaning how much inventory you can send to Amazon is now reduced. Therefore, sellers are having to deal with that problem, because if you cannot replenish your stock fast enough, it can lead to out of stock situation. And that is a big, big problem. Amazon is, of course, trying its best to keep up. However, it's going to be a while before Amazon will give you sellers unlimited capacity where they can send as much inventory as they like. And this is just a slide that talks about, in spite of Amazon's extensive investments in infrastructure, it is going to take years. So if you're an FBA seller, you should definitely look for option, because the problem is not going away, certainly not anytime soon. And Amazon has been experiencing this problem for a very long time, from 2012 onwards. And they've adopted various different strategies and tactics to limit the amount of inventory sellers can send to FBA. And it's simply, Amazon just does not have space in spite of everything. So the short message here is plan for an alternate fulfillment option, because if you think that that's just a Q4 limit, no, it is not true, because Amazon has been dealing with this problem for the last decade. Just to bring this to life, what can happen? So imagine your bestseller. It goes out of stock because you cannot send enough inventory. You sent it, it's doing great, people love it, people are buying, and you cannot replenish it fast enough. Your sales rank will go down if the product goes out of stock. Sell-through goes down accordingly. Your IPI, which is Inventory Performance Index, is just a measure of your inventory turnover at FBA. That goes down, and Amazon certainly uses that as one of the key factors in determining how much storage you should have, and then that leads to a decline in your storage limit. So you see, it's a pretty vicious cycle that can happen. So you have to be very careful to prevent that item from going out of stock. So now that I've shared the problem, let's talk about the solution. And the problems don't stop there, because you need to, Amazon has been experiencing a lot of delays in receiving the product. So even if the product is delivered to the Amazon fulfillment center, it's taking weeks to get it available for sale. There's also freight delays if you're shipping inventory from overseas or even domestically. There's a significant delays from the time you create the inbound. So what we are recommending, have a backup fulfillment, to deal with FBA issues, so that you can immediately turn on that listing and make it FBM. You also need a backup to drip the inventory to FBA, because you cannot send a lot of inventory. but you need to send smaller batches of inventory more frequently in order to protect your IPI. And also, you can either do it yourself if you have operations in the US, or you can work with 3PL, which are third-party warehouses that can provide fulfillment services for you. This is a quick intro into Cahoot, and we'll have some time for Q&A. This is my last slide. Cahoot is a nationwide order fulfillment network. We have the same standards for fulfillment as Amazon FBA. We have warehouses throughout the country, and Cahoot is accepting new sellers who want to get started. Even now, we can have you up and running in record time because we have a 5-star rated app, a very advanced integration with Amazon that makes it very easy for sellers to come on board. And Cahoot is one of the very few fulfillment networks of its size and scale that offers Seller Fulfill Prime. So if your account is approved for Seller Fulfill Prime, that's the best way to get the Prime badge and bypass all of FBA limits. And the best of all, it is very affordable. One of the most affordable solutions all year round. There's no Q4 surcharges, and the cost is the same for orders from all channels, whether you're selling on Shopify, eBay, Amazon, Walmart. And we were very lucky to receive one of the most Innovative Companies Award by Fast Company earlier this year. That's all I have for today. Back over to you, Luke. I know there might be some questions.
Thanks, Dilip and Manish. We do have a bunch of good questions. We've got 10 minutes here, so I'm going to start firing off to the both of you. The first one, it comes in for Dilip. It's asking for recommendations on categories to prioritize for this Q4. Do you guys have any emerging data on best sellers, or what you think what sellers should prioritize in their catalog?
Yeah, that's a great question, Luke. I think so. So last year, I think we had seen the data where people were looking for essentially buying more items, especially from the essentials, health, and household category and other stuff. But this year, it's going to be a bit different because I think things have eased up, and we do see a consistent demand across the categories. But the normal suspects like toys category, it's bound to grow. But otherwise, this year at least we see that there should be a consistent demand across the category. That's our prediction.
All right. Certainly, if you saw this, the first slide Manish presented to, spending on goods is up tremendously, period. So I think that the easy answer is a lot, everything's going to sell. We have one that I'm going to take myself. It's asking about cautions for a seller before signing up on different marketplaces. I'd urge you to check out a different webinar we did recently with Geek Seller. If you go to Cahoot.ai, our website, and go to the webinar section, you'll see we have multi-channel selling advice. At a high level, a lot of selling is similar across marketplaces, right? Get your listings right, figure out your advertising strategy. I know SellerApp is starting to dip their toes into other marketplace specific advice, but there are little differences between each marketplace that you really need to understand to make the most of it. That's what we go into on that webinar, and I think you'll find the advice helpful. The other thing, of course, is that if you're reliant on FBA right now, that's not going to work for you on different marketplaces. Walmart doesn't allow you to use FBA. None of the big marketplaces do. So you are going to need an alternate fulfillment solution. And I will give a little plug for Cahoot here. Everything that Manish mentioned, all the value props, affordable 1- and 2-day shipping, we do it for any and all marketplaces seamlessly. So it would actually, there's no additional fulfillment complexity working with us if you add new marketplaces. All right, after I took that one, I'll switch over for another one for Dilip. Dilip, we have a question about how often does a seller need to monitor their advertisement campaigns? You talked a lot about automation and how that can make things easier, but to what extent does that make things hands off? And to what extent does the seller still need to be going in and thinking about things and optimizing things themselves?
Yeah, this all depends on the phase of your product as well as the history of your campaigns. So if you're actually in a launch phase, you have to be on the top of the campaigns, right? I mean, which means you need to be looking at your advertising account every day, looking at all the keywords, because the data can be it can be go up, it can be like a sine wave, right? But once your product matures and you also have a history of data, I think I mean, you can probably look at once per week, or I mean, set up everything in automation. And if there is any critical alert comes from the system, then you can look into it. But overall, again, it also depends on the time of the season. Like for example, something like Q4, I would be monitoring all my listings, all my advertising accounts every day, right? Because any change or any critical error can actually lead to a significant finance loss for me, right? So yeah, I mean, but again, there are great tools out there. I mean, Amazon itself do send alerts if there are something has gone wrong, your campaigns paused or your buy box changes. All those things I will ensure that I'm monitoring very day-to-day basis, at least during the holiday season.
Absolutely. And I'm going to keep it with you for one more, which is you mentioned external traffic and thinking outside of Amazon. How important is that? How important really is that external traffic for your Amazon product rankings?
So we did some very interesting experiment recently with one of our good brands, and Amazon does love this, because Amazon like external traffic, because it's essentially bringing in a new user even for Amazon, not just for your product but for Amazon itself, right? So we have used it as some independent experiments for some of the products, and it really worked great, because in the finally, like if you look at it, Amazon is all about sales velocity, right? If a product is generating good sales and you are actually doing consistent sales, your keywords will rank better, your organic sales will become better, and it will eventually help out, I mean, both organically and advertising, right? So as of now, we cannot really make a exact point saying that, okay, it can add 10% to 20%, but overall, it does help for your product. It also helps you to rank the products better.
Great, thanks. I'm going to
maybe look, if I can add to that.
Oh, yeah, please do.
Look, I mean, ultimately, it all comes down to your PPC cost, right? If you can acquire lower cost traffic elsewhere, and that can supplement or augment or complement your Amazon traffic, that was a great way to, get the sale. So, if your advertising cost on Amazon is much higher and you can advertise on Google at a much lower rate, as long as it converts at the same pace or higher, you are in the green. So, but that's the only point I'd like to make.
Thanks, Manish. And we're actually going to keep it with you. There's a question about, FBM doesn't have a Prime badge, right? And FBA does. Does that make FBM less valuable or not really worth doing? Like if you lose the Prime badge, is that it for your holiday sales anyways?
I would say what is the worst thing to do is go out of stock in FBA. So FBM is not less valuable. Of course, Prime badge is very helpful. However, there are enough shoppers out there that are perfectly fine with a reasonable delivery window. However, if you don't have FBM and you go out of stock in FBA, that's a massive problem. And that's why we are recommending sellers to rethink. There is no such thing going forward as FBA only, in my view, because FBA and FBM has to coexist in order for sellers to make it work until such time that Amazon says unlimited capacity, you can send as much inventory as you like, and the cost of storage at Amazon in Q4 comes down in parity with Q1 to Q3. At least for the foreseeable future, every seller should have a dual strategy at the very least.
Makes sense. Thanks. All right, that is, we have 1 minute left, so I think we'd like to launch a poll for all of you. Thank you so much for joining. Please do answer the poll. We're just seeing, would you like to receive follow-up from us on any of these topics? It's just learn more about what we covered. Select everything that applies, and once you've answered the poll, thank you again for joining, and we hope to see you again on a future webinar, or chatting with us further to learn about these topics. Take care.